Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 34. I'm Tony, and I think this game might be locked into a high position on my rankings list.
Ooh. Yeah, and I'm Jeff, and today we are talking about Lock and Chase. So, Tony, I think I know your answer, but what's your immediate opinion on this game?
Yes, asterisk.
Okay, so yes, people should play it, maybe. I think I'm in the same boat. I think I'm also a yes asterisk, but we'll get into that as we get further into the episode.
I have a pretty specific reason, or like maybe I guess a very specific caveat that we'll get into in a little bit.
Interesting. So what did the publishers and the devs say on the back of the box to get us to pick this up and bring it home?
This one I think is actually a pretty fun one, so here we go. Lock and Chase. Moolah, dinero, scratch. There's money to be had, and it's everywhere. Sacks o' cash are scattered around the maze that makes up the streets of this fair city, just waiting to be nabbed. Even diamonds. Payday has arrived. There's only one small problem. It's not your money. Details. And the police aren't too jazzed about your taking it. So they're going to try to do what the boys in blue do best. Stop you. Race through the streets in 6 nonstop levels of action. Duck in and out of alleys. Scoop up the bucks. Avoid the cops. Even throw up a barrier or two if they come too close. If you're good enough, you might make a clean getaway.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, I like that. Thematic, I feel. So this was also released in July of 1990. We've had a very long July run, but published by Data East, which is not a name that we've seen before.
Nope.
It's kind of an updated version, I guess we could say. It's not a port, but it shares a name with an older game made for Japanese arcades, and I think also brought to like the Atari 2600 and things like that.
Right. I've never played the original. I did look into it a little bit to see what those differences are and things, but welcome to the show, Data East. Data East for me will always be Joe and Mac on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't know if you played that. No, yeah, it's an action platformer with like cavemen. I think I might still have my cart for the second one actually, but yeah, definitely a name that I do recognize. Maybe some of our listeners will as well, but interesting to see them here.
Yeah, it looks like we'll see them, a few more times as we go through, but this is their debut, we will say. With that, is there anything else in the background or anything like that you want to bring up, or do you just want to go ahead and dive into the mechanics of this one?
No, I don't think that I have a whole lot left. I actually do kind of have a good amount of notes here, so let's just dive into it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so for the mechanics, it's a maze game. It's Pac-Man-esque, which we'll probably be making that comparison quite a bit. Your goal is to gobble up the dots, or I guess more in-universe lore is you're picking up the coins.
Yeah.
So all the dots are coins, and yeah, you're robbing banks, with the ultimate goal to get the African Star Diamond, so a big diamond at the end. Controls, pretty simple, pretty much what you would expect. Your D-pad moves you around. A and B here sets up a barricade, and then you can hit start and use the arrow keys to kind of move around the stage and see where people or different things are placed. So if you can't see the whole stage, that is a nice way to kind of look around and all of that. So pretty simple controls, pretty straightforward. Tony, what was your gameplay like? Did you make it and get the African Star Diamond, or how far did you get into it?
I got to, I want to say, the 4th or 5th bank, because like every time you finish a handful of levels, that's you like successfully robbing that bank, and then you get away and go to the next one. I think I made it to like the 4th or 5th one.
Okay.
In as much time as I spent running around the maze and dodging the cops and picking everything up. I don't know that I ever fully got the hang of the putting the gates up mechanic.
Really? Okay.
Like I looked into it after I finished playing the first time, read the manual, tried to get a better idea of what you were supposed to be doing with them. And as far as I know, it's supposed to be that they're placed like directly behind you, like where you last were, I guess. And I did not seem like I was getting that when I was playing. I couldn't put them where I wanted them to go, and I often ended up trapping myself instead of the police officers, or I would put one up in a way that would make me dead end, and then a police officer would come in right behind me. So I actually played through most of the game with just not bothering to use that mechanic at all.
Yeah, that's funny because I think I made it to 4-2. It kind of follows the Super Mario Land 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. Then you go to 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, etc. Yeah, I made it to 4-2 in about 20 minutes, but I did watch a decent amount. But I agree with you. When I first played through it, I don't think I pushed A or B once. I didn't realize that it set up a barricade. And so my first playthrough did not use the barricades at all. Once I saw them in the manual, I went back and played a bit more. And as far as I can tell, there are little
they're like little nodes on the sides of all the like different areas you can pass.
Exactly. And as far as I could tell, the barricade will go into the last set of nodes that you passed through. Again, I didn't play with them too much. Honestly, all of the people that I watched playing also didn't really use them that much. So an interesting mechanic, maybe not the most impactful for gameplay or the most necessary. Sometimes, it does feel a little clunky because you can only put up 2 barricades at a time and you can't take them down.
No.
So once you put them up, you just have to wait a certain amount of time and then it'll come down and then you can put another one up. May be useful if there's a cop kind of right behind you, but I would say maybe not the most impactful mechanic that we've had in a game so far.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little superfluous because I don't know that if I hadn't bothered to even try to use the barriers at all while I played, that it would have really diminished the game for me a whole lot. I do like that you are supposed to be able to use the barriers to pen cops in and then they'll like be defeated or whatever and you get points for that.
Yeah, you get points. Yeah.
I never managed to make that happen, but I do like that that's there now that I have played the game more and know that that's sort of how that works. Maybe I would go back and try to make that happen, but at the same time, again, it wasn't like necessary. A lot of the level design and stuff gives you plenty of places to like put these barricades, but there are also plenty of levels too where there really aren't that many barricade points for you to even drop one down in the first place. So like, I don't know, it feels like something that was carried over from the arcade version, but because it was this new version and not the original arcade version, maybe it just doesn't really track well over here in the same way, and it just feels kind of like tacked on when maybe it didn't originally in the old one. I don't know.
I could see that. And as soon as you boot up this game, my first thought was, oh, this is Pac-Man.
Yeah, me too.
I could see them wanting to add features to make it not just a Pac-Man clone. Maybe that's part of where this comes from. But honestly, there are a lot of other features and like things in the stages.
Yes.
That differentiate it.
Uh-huh.
There are question box, there are doors, there are alarm clocks, there are like transporter doors, different stage layouts and things like that. So I think they did a very good job of not just, oh, this is a Pac-Man clone.
Yeah, same.
And so, I don't know. The barricades maybe not 100% necessary, but also I don't mind that they're there. I just ignored them most of the time.
It sort of wraps into the like big caveat that I have with this game, like mechanically, and that is once you get past the first bank, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, whatever, and you move into the next one, that's when the game really, to me, gets good.
I would agree with that.
The first bank is very, it might as well just be like kind of a, I don't know, like a lackluster Pac-Man clone or whatever. It's not bad. It feels good to play, but there's nothing like exciting about it.
I would agree with
Once
that.
you get past the first bank and you're into all of the subsequent ones, the gimmicks that are in each of those areas really make the game feel different. And even though you don't necessarily have to use the barrier, it doesn't detract.
Yeah.
The gimmicks in the levels are interesting enough themselves that, like, it doesn't really matter if you use that mechanic or not, because there's still something interesting going on in the level that makes it not really matter one way or the other.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think the first level or two, I really was like, oh, I'm going to struggle playing this one because it's just going to be worse Pac-Man or like a reskinned Pac-Man. And yeah, that changed very quickly. And yeah, while I didn't beat it, I had fun while I was playing it.
Me too.
Yeah, once they start introducing the other mechanics, it feels a lot better. And I think they do a very good job of introducing the mechanics. A lot of the first levels that you see something new, you kind of have to interact with it, or the stage is set up in a way that it allows you to kind of test it out and play with it before you actually start losing lives or anything like that. So I think they did a very good job of introducing a lot of those gimmicks in a way that made it feel intuitive and fun.
Yeah.
There are question blocks, and when you walk over them, it will kind of switch which cops are active and which are not active. And that's just like a very interesting thing. You know, if you're getting chased by a cop and they're like right on your tail, then you can go over the question block. That one will become unactive. And, you know, it just adds another dynamic that, again, I found quite fun.
Yeah, and those question blocks, they only affect like the actual cop sprites, like that you can see in the like area around when you activate it. So in one level, I activated the block. It actually got 3 of the cops, and so 3 of them got shut down, and one of them kept running around all by itself. Well, that makes this level really easy because now 3 of the 4 cops are just like napping or whatever, and I can clear house because you're like, you can stay like one little step ahead of them, but if you make a wrong turn or hesitate, they will absolutely catch up to you, and then it's game over.
Yeah, you are just slightly faster than the cops. So I found that to be a nice bit. I also noted that because we've had a lot of these games where you're either the same speed or slightly slower, and that feels so bad.
I hate that. I hate when you're slower.
But you're just slightly faster, not enough that it feels overpowered or, you know, that you're scotch-free and can just get away from everyone, but just enough that, yeah, the little bit of like input delay or lag of changing directions isn't going to get you caught, and that felt good.
I mean, cornering isn't exactly great. That is kind of a gripe that I have when you're navigating the mazes, especially because that's so important here, being able to round the corners without getting caught or hung up on everything. There were definitely some slip-ups when I was playing where it was like, oh man, I totally thought I got away, but like I got hung up going around a corner too early or too late. But it wasn't enough to like ruin the experience for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
One thing I do want to note about the gimmicks, though, before we completely move on from that, is because the levels are so short, like there's only 3 of them in each of like the banks that you go to, none of the gimmicks ever overstay their welcome. You get a good introductory level to the new gimmick, and then you get a couple levels showing it off, letting you, play around with it and enjoy that little playground with this new mechanic, and then it's over. You move on to the next one.
Yep.
And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and then towards the later levels, they do kind of start mixing and matching. So it's not like a one and done with any gimmick. You do see it again later. But yeah, it's not just bashing your head against the wall for 5-6 levels. when you first get introduced to it. I hadn't thought of that particularly, but thinking back on it, like how it felt, yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's exactly it. If they had made more levels kind of dedicated to each one, that would have probably felt a little like they were overstaying their welcome.
Yeah, because the ones that they have designed, I think, take good advantage of each of the gimmicks. And there is definitely such a thing as too much of whatever the gimmick might be. And when you're designing these really tight, single screen kind of experiences like that, you really want to make sure that each introduction of the gimmick for these levels really matters, like really is fun and engaging and whatever else. And so if they made more levels with each of the different gimmicks all on their own, then I can see it getting really repetitive and dull and being like, oh man, I'm still doing the teleporting boxes or whatever. Like, can't we move on from this one?
Yeah.
But the way that they allow you to play through each of them individually in these just little bite-sized handful of levels before you move on, and then they reintroduce them later by like mixing and matching so that you have a chance to be like, oh, okay, now we're doing teleport boxes and alarm clocks in this level or whatever. I mean, that's just good game design, like flat out.
Yeah, I agree. I guess two quick things and then one bigger thing before we move on.
Okay.
One, we haven't stated this yet, even though, you know, if you've played Pac-Man, you're aware. There are money bags,
Oh, yeah.
which kind of act as like the fruit that just give you, you know, kind of bonus points. It also stuns the cops for just a little bit, which is kind of cool.
It makes them cry.
Yeah.
I love that.
It makes them cry and it's adorable. But yeah, it stuns them for a little bit. And then you can also pick up a gem, which, what is it, like the power fruits in Pac-Man? I don't know what they call it.
The power pellet.
Yeah.
It makes you invincible.
And it allows you to kind of hit the cops off the screen. So those mechanics do exist. Also, the continues are extremely generous.
Oh, so good here.
As far as I can tell, you get infinite continues. I think you get 3 lives, maybe 5 lives. And if you get so many points, you get more lives and all of that. But if you game over, you can just continue from the title screen right where you left off. So extremely generous and definitely felt a lot better than some other games that we've played.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, you're trying not to game over, but it didn't make it feel like, oh, I got this far. Oh, I gamed over. Yeah, I'm done with this for now. Because you could jump right back in.
Very low stress. Like no friction there. It's not like a save state thing. So, you know, if you're playing the game and then you stop, you know, you turn your Game Boy off or whatever. As far as I know, you would then have to start over from the beginning.
Yep.
I don't believe that it saves.
Correct.
But it is nice that it means you can just keep playing on your whole, you know, quarter, your whole credit or whatever. And you can just keep going until you get tired of it. And I think that the game really does a good job with its mechanics, especially the ability to continue like that, of making you want to come back and play just a little bit more. You know, I know that that's a little bit leaning into wrap-up stuff, but I mean specifically mechanically, there is a lot set up here in ways that just really make it so easy to pick this game up, play it, and if you have to put it down for a minute or whatever, or you want to just see how far you can get, it lends itself to that so easily in ways that most of the rest of the games that we have come across just don't.
That actually segues quite nicely into my last point. I, you know, kind of when I said I got to like 4.2, 4.3, something like that. I was like, okay, I'm kind of done. I want to collect my thoughts, take some notes. And I was kind of like, wow, I do kind of wish there was maybe a password system or something.
Yeah.
It did only take me about 20 minutes to get there, so not horrible to have to play through it again. Also, the gameplay is not like super repetitive, even though it's the same levels. You're moving differently, the enemies are moving differently, so
yeah,
definitely not as bad as some of the others that we've played.
Sure.
But you roll credits after you get past 6-3. So technically you beat the game, quote unquote. And, you know, you get the big diamond, the credits roll, And then it gives you a code that you can put in your title screen. The title screen doesn't have like a password portion or anything.
Yeah.
But you just type in the code when you're on the title screen and extra will pop up.
Huh.
And then once you start the game, it'll bring you to 7-1.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of like not a new game plus because they are different levels, but just like an extra game. And then that goes up until 12-3 where you beat the game again. So I found that just like quite interesting. You could play the first half, get the code. I'm not going to say it, so I'm not, tempting anyone if they want to pick up the game to skip the first half.
Sure, yeah.
But easily available if you want it. And yeah, it just brings you to the second half. And so if you want a little bit more challenge, you can do that. If you want to start at the beginning, you can do that. I quite like that. I thought that was an interesting take on kind of something we haven't seen. And I think it also kind of alleviates the need for dedicated passwords because, yeah, you can probably get through 6 stages in 30 minutes to an hour, which I feel is like a good amount of time.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. We'll see something exactly like that pretty much in Kirby. The very first Kirby's Dream Land game on the Game Boy also does the same thing. Once you beat that game, they give you a code and that you can put in at the start menu, and it puts you into extra mode, which is just you go through the game over again, but it's got like new enemies and stuff. So that's really cool to know that they had actually done that previously. I thought Kirby was one of the first ones to do that on the Game Boy, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think we had a commenter say something about Super Mario Land having something similar.
Right.
But I think that's all I have for the mechanics. So, Tony, if you don't have anything else, I think we can do a quick little ad break and then get into the creative discussion.
Yeah, that does it for me. It's ad break time.
All right, Tony, let's try to get this in one take. Maybe stay to the script this time? You're live in 3, 2...
A horrible global phenomenon is being reported in the modern era. Children who don't know what a Game Boy is.
I don't think it's that serious.
If you or anyone you know has children suffering from a chronic lack of retro gaming, we recommend subscribing to the Critical DMG podcast. We're experts on the Game Boy.
I'm absolutely not.
And we here at Critical DMG will ensure that everyone knows about the Game Boy, whether they're young or old, pro or noob.
Does anyone say noob anymore?
So don't wait. Share this podcast with your friends and loved ones that have kids, your coworkers, their kids, your board game group's kids. Spread the word. Play it out the windows of your car in the elementary school drop-off lane.
Please don't do that last one.
With your help, we can work to undo the damages of time and make everybody appreciate the Game Boy. Thank you.
All right, yeah, that last part's pretty good.
We know that a lot of people listen to podcasts just like ours to relax at bedtime. Here at Critical DMG, we do our best to ensure that the charm and good vibes are provided at maximum strength. You can tune into our show, tune out for the night, and leave us on while you get some sleep. With Critical DMG, the rest is easy.
And we're back. I do have to say that I was not thrilled with the music here. It was fine. I liked the little title track. I think was pretty cute. But the actual music in the game, despite the fact that it does change after like so many levels, they do change the track up a little bit. I turned it off after a while. It was just a really short loop, and I just got kind of sick of hearing it.
I could buy that. I thought it was like a good kind of like heisty sort of sound or vibe.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job with that. I never turned it down, but I did have to go back and re-listen to it because I clearly wasn't paying attention the first time. So, it wasn't jarring, it wasn't annoying to me, but re-listening to it, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little like waddly sounds that you make
Uh-huh.
As your little thing is walking. I don't know what you're supposed to be, a little dot, but as he's walking, I quite like the bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah, all the sounds are pretty cute. I don't think any of them are really grating, even though there is a lot of like coins and diamonds and, other kind of sparkly sounds that are around. I don't think any of them really stand out as awful. Definitely not in the way that you would expect for like an arcade game.
Agreed, yeah.
Port or otherwise, like some of the other arcades, like arcade ports and stuff that we've had in the past have sort of skewed more toward really recreating those kinds of sounds on the Game Boy, and I just don't think that that's a good way to go about it. It usually makes them really kind of grating to listen to, but this one was not. I think overall this was like a pretty good auditory experience, I think, from top to bottom, even though I ended up turning the sound off eventually just because I was playing over and over and the music was getting repetitive. I think overall the sound and music is good. I just didn't want to keep hearing the same track over and over again for as long as I was playing it.
I think that's fair. I did find all the little goobers to be extremely cute.
Yes.
Again, I don't know what you are other than a thief and policeman, I guess.
You're just a goober in a big hat. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the goobers and I love their hats and I love their shoes.
It kind of remind me of like Waddle Dee-esque.
Uh-huh.
Which obviously I have like a little Waddle Dee hanging from my microphone, so
yeah.
Maybe I'm a little bit primed to think that. But yeah, they were just kind of these little ball things with little feet that waddled around, and the cops had like little cop hats, and some of them had glasses, and I don't know, just very, very good.
I love how they had like the normal, they're supposed to be like constable style looking coppers, and then they have like the tough guy with like the sunglasses, and there's like stripes on the face or whatever that are really cute. That like, oh, so good. The design on the little goobers running around the maze is just so good. They're such a good size, and they fit so well in all of the like layout of the maze. It's so much fun to watch them run around. And I think all of the other stuff in the mazes is fine.
Yeah.
They're just like dots and things like that.
Exactly. Like readability is fine. The UI, all the stuff around is fine. I think readability wise is good. And then, yeah, the fact that everything is just like quite cute and just kind of fits, I think is just a little bit of a cherry on top as far as that's concerned.
Oh, for sure. And I love that there's cutscenes throughout pretty much the whole thing.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, they're so charming. You've got like your little guy jumping up and sprinting off to go start the first heist when the game starts. And then every time you finish one of the banks, there's like a new escape scene, which is really cute.
Yeah.
You know what they reminded me of? And this is going to be a deep pull. You know what those scenes at the end of all the bank stages reminded me of is the cutscenes that you would get every handful of levels when you beat Number Munchers.
Wow, that is a deep pull.
Yeah, I told you it was a deep pull. Yeah, the old like edutainment game where you're like walking around a little froggy guy. Yeah, every so many levels there would be like a cutscene of you Looney Tunesing it up and getting one over on the little, guys chasing you around. That's what these reminded me of, and they're just so charming. Like, your little guy, runs out of the bank and just dons a jetpack or like hops into a getaway car or whatever. Oh, so good.
Quite like the hot air balloon, like the least efficient getaway vehicle ever. You can't actually control where it goes. You're just up there, but they were also good. They also weren't overly long or anything like that. So despite the fact that they were enjoyable, even when I kind of went back to play it more quickly, they didn't overstay their welcome or anything like that, which I think is nice.
Yeah, it wasn't ever like, oh man, I wish I could skip these. It's literally just a few seconds of the little guy exiting the back of the bank or whatever, and then hopping in something and getting away, and then it moves on to the next one.
As we've said, each level, I guess, is a different bank, once you get to the final level, so I guess level 6 and level 12, well, level money sign, because it goes from 9 to heart to music note to money sign. So I guess double digits they couldn't do, but whatever. 6 and 12, the bank is a pyramid, and it's just kind of like a nice little thing. Changed it up a little bit, and I found that to be kind of nice and cute as well.
I love the idea that like all of these banks are just like on the same street
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mhm.
Like this is just the same city, and your little bank robber guy is just like hitting every bank on the street, just like one after the other. They all look identical and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's either they're all just identical banks on the same street, or your little thief is just robbing the same bank over and over again.
That jetpack just has a lot of range on it, you know.
Oh,
just
that's true.
citywide jetpack. I will say in the manual, we get a return of "It's amazing."
I saw that. Oh my god.
Yeah, you know, call back to Quirk.
Quirk, uh-huh.
So A-maze-ing. Aside from that, the manual was kind of lackluster, in my opinion.
Oh, it was bad. It was one of the most like barren that we've had so far.
Yeah.
And that's saying something coming off the back of the Gargoyles Quest manual.
Yeah, with how cute and I feel like the amount of effort they potentially put into all of the different graphics,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a little sad that, you know, the front of the manual is just black with the title. You don't see the characters. It does show you like the coins and the diamonds and stuff, but they're just kind of like generic. A little bit of a downer there.
Yeah, even the back of the box is pretty clever and creative compared to the manual.
Well, and the front of the box is, you know, pretty cute and
Yeah,
has like some decent graphics on it. So
sure.
a little bit of a miss there, but I guess what are you going to do?
I don't know. I think that does it for me. I definitely don't have as much to say in the aesthetics, just other than it's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love pretty much all of the sprites. I love the little goobers, top to bottom. I love the little alarm clocks. I love when the cops are like sleeping because the alarm clock is not going.
Yeah, they have the little sleep bubble coming out of them. Mm-hmm.
Adorable. I love when they're crying. It's so funny.
That's probably my favorite.
Exactly. Mine too. You can have like 3 or 4 cops just all descending in the same place, and then you pick up one of those money bags and they just all drop in the middle of whatever they were doing and start just bawling openly on the floor.
Yeah.
So good.
Ditto everything you just said. I think it's very, very cute. Well done. Don't have a whole lot else to say other than that.
I guess that means that we'll just start the wrap up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really put it any better personally than I found myself coming back to this game kind of a lot. Like, not just through the first time that I played it, where I definitely was hooked on the new gimmicks that were showing up enough to be like, oh, I'll just continue one more time. Like, oh, I got a game over, but the continue system is so easy. I'll just one more time. I know I can beat this level. I'll do it one more time. And I don't know that it gets much better than that, especially for what I am looking for in a game on the Game Boy. So for me, I would definitely say this one is worth the batteries.
So are you upgrading from a yes asterisk to a straight yes?
I mean, I think that I will go with a straight yes, but I still will say that you do have to get through the first level. Like, if you went into this game and you got into the first level and you thought that that was all it was going to be, you would definitely be forgiven to be like, oh, you know, it's just like a Pac-Man. You know, it's just like a kind of a wonky Pac-Man clone or whatever. But once you get past that first set of levels, I really think the game opens up into something very enjoyable.
I would agree with that. And those first set of levels are going to take you 5-10 minutes, maybe.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's not, you know, a huge time investment to get to the good part. It's not like, yeah, you have to put in 30 hours before the game opens up. So I think it's worth it because of that. I will say it is enough like Pac-Man that if you dislike Pac-Man, maybe you wouldn't like this game.
That's fair.
But I do think it adds enough that Like, I'm not the hugest Pac-Man fan.
Uh-huh.
Like, I get bored with it quite easy, honestly. And I think this adds enough more to it.
Yes.
And it's challenging, but the continue system makes it not punishing. So it doesn't feel bad to play. And yeah, like you said, it's, oh yeah, I can definitely beat this level. And just kind of like going back at it, I think I'm going to upgrade mine as well to just a straight yes. So
Cool. Yeah, we don't get many of those, so that's great.
yeah.
I definitely agree. Like, I could see being put off if you just do not like Pac-Man. You know, you don't like maze games. And this is not the only maze game that we've had. You know, definitely Boomer's Adventures and Asmic World. Like, that's, you know, a maze game and stuff like that. But you are 100% correct. Whatever reservations you might have about a Pac-Man, I definitely think that Lock and Chase adds enough, especially once you get past that first bank, to really set it apart and make it something like, yes, you are still running around a maze, collecting dots, whatever, but those gimmicks and the way that the cops chase you around and stuff, I really do think sets it apart from just like, oh yeah, Pac-Man clone.
Well said.
Well, on that high note, I think it is quiz time.
Quiz time. So I'm currently at 81.1%. Last week, I lost my perfect streak for the last couple of episodes, but still did all right. So hopefully I can do at least that well today.
I think so. We had such a good episode, such a good talk about such a fun, good game. It would be such a shame if the quiz did you dirty now.
You know, I'm always a little scared about what you dig up, especially when I don't find a whole lot of background information. I know you have to dig quite deep, so I'm always a little concerned about those, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Lock and Chase quiz, question 1. The plucky thief in Lock and Chase, despite not being named here on the Game Boy, was called Lupin in the arcade and other releases. In the West, some ads and marketing materials probably connected that name to the French literary character Arsène Lupin, since they sometimes referred to the little goober in Lock and Chase as a gentleman thief, just like the one from the books. That thief, unlike this one, wasn't just chased by the police, but even had a run-in with another literary character, even if it wasn't exactly permitted by the author. Is it true or false that in the 7th Lupin novel, Sherlock Holmes was featured but had to have his name changed in later publications?
Sure, we will say true. I have no idea, but we will say true.
It is true. Good job.
Ooh.
In the second collection of Lupin stories, published in 1908, Sherlock Holmes is featured in 2 of those stories. Arthur Conan Doyle, author of Sherlock Holmes, did not approve this use of the Sherlock Holmes character, so while the name Sherlock Holmes was used in some of the early printings of the stories and then also some like later printings anyway, in others it was changed to things like Herlock Sholmes or Homelock Shears.
As you would.
Yeah. I personally, I think Herlock Sholmes is so good. I like
Homelock.
Yeah, Homelock Shears is really funny, but I feel like Herlock Sholmes is like a gender bend AU character somewhere. All right, off to a good start. Ready for question 2?
Let's do it.
Great detective though he might be, maybe not even Sherlock Holmes could uncover what happened to a lost version of Lock and Chase that was originally developed in 1983. The game came out in arcades, the Game Boy, the Atari 2600, and the Intellivision, but there was another version that disappeared in a development shuffle and has never resurfaced since. According to the Lost Media Wiki, what was that version intended to be released on? Was it A, the Vectrix, B, Apple II and IBM PC, C, some other third thing, or D, Nobody knows. It's entirely a mystery.
I remember reading about the Apple II, so that's what I'm going to say.
Prior knowledge.
Yeah, I don't remember it being lost, but I specifically remember reading Apple II. So that's going to be my answer.
Okay, well, good. It is the answer.
Oh, let's go.
Mattel Electronics was set to release an officially licensed port of Lock and Chase for the Apple II computer and IBM PC in 1983. And they even went as far as to announce it at the January Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas that year. And I also saw like some print ads for it as well. It received a final quality assurance in September 1983, but manufacturing was then put on hold, and the project was transferred to the Mattel Electronics Taiwan office, where it never resurfaced again. So, according to the Lost Media Wiki, it's unknown if any working versions of this Apple II and IBM PC port of the game were ever saved.
Everyone knows the Mattel Taiwan office is where projects go to die. Don't actually know that, so I'm sure the office is great.
As far as I know, I think it was like it went to the office and then the Mattel Electronics like branch just in its entirety like shuttered a few years later. So
that's fair.
Maybe it was just Mattel Electronics was where things went and just never resurfaced. But those are specious claims at best. So we'll just move on.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Let's bring it home. Question 3. In this version of Lock and Chase, as well as some of the others, the little pips that you collect around the maze are referred to as coins. However, in the releases on the Intellivision, as well as the 2 lost home computer versions, ad copy that I found from the time doesn't call them coins, but something a bit more suitable for their pixelated shape, I guess. What were they referred to as? A. Gold bricks. B. Pearls. C. Beans. Or D. Teeth.
Oh, that's disturbing, thinking that you're going around collecting teeth. So I think it was from the arcade, but I remember seeing like the board, and I do want to say they were kind of like yellowish.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with gold's bricks because that makes sense to me. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, you're gonna go with it because it's the right answer, obviously. It's A.
Let's go.
Yeah, good job.
Prior knowledge and complete guessing, doing well this week.
In the ads for the Intellivision release that did come out, as well as a coming soon ad for the 2 lost versions, the little dots that you collect are called gold bricks, which I guess makes just as much sense as coins does, considering they're just basically like little dots or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're gonna rob a bank, it's probably better to make off with some gold bricks than like pennies on the ground.
Yeah, protect against inflation or something.
Right?
All right, 3 for 3. Not bad, not bad.
I know. Back on top.
Yeah. But can you remind us what our listener quiz question from Gargoyles Quest was?
I sure can. Without going into the entire why the Gargoyles Quest manual in the West was so disappointing all over again, just go back and listen to that episode if you haven't. The manual or the question for Gargoyles Quest was about the manual and how there were ads in it for other Capcom games. 2 of those ads were for Disney games, one of them being DuckTales, the other one being Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to know what the other game ad was, and that was for a game based on a cult classic fantasy movie of the late 80s. Jeff, did you figure it out and or already know?
Yeah, I mean, I had the manual open when you asked. It's Willow, which I'm not familiar with, but...
Yeah, it is Willow. Yeah, it's Willow.
Yeah.
It came out, movie that came out in 1988, and Capcom had both an NES and an arcade game available by the next year. I am completely unfamiliar with the movie. I have seen some people talking about the games. As far as I know, They're both movie and games pretty well regarded by their fans, and the NES game was actually even ranked 89th on IGN's list of the top 100 NES games back in 2020. So
Oh, wow.
that's pretty cool.
Who would have guessed?
Right.
What is our listener question for this week?
Okay, listener question for Lock and Chase. In 2018, a small company known as Lub Blub LLC developed a game for the Switch, PS4, and PC that featured a number of classic Data East arcade games in a pretty unique form. Spread across multiple in-game arcade cabinets based on titles like Burger Time, Side Pocket, and Lock and Chase, players would attempt to carry a bag of loot through to their team's own side of the screens, all while dodging hazards and weapon fire from the opposing team. It honestly sounds pretty interesting from what I've seen and read, but if you wanted to look into the game yourself, what game would you be looking up? Jeff, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I was like, nope, no idea. But if any of our listeners have an idea, let us know. And I won't be able to help you at all, but you can find out next week and see if you were right or not.
Yeah, and it's got a interesting story, we'll say. So tune in next week for that one.
Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/criticaldmgpod. Join us there for monthly newsletters and extra content. Otherwise, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe recommend us to your friends or anyone else you might think that would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it. Well, I think that is enough bank robbing and, I guess, pyramid looting for us for now at least.
The life of crime is over.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if we see it again in the future, but I assume we won't next week, because next week we will be covering Paperboy.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see how that translates to the Game Boy.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with this. I think I've played Paperboy-esque games where you're delivering papers, but I can't imagine how that does translate, so maybe that's the crux of your comment. But join us next week and we'll find out together.
Yeah, we'll see. I've definitely played Paperboy, mostly on the NES, I believe, so I wonder how smooth it's going to translate here on the Game Boy, but find out next time, everybody. Until then, bye-bye.
Goodbye.